Good evening and welcome back to Making the Case. I'm very pleased to be joining you this evening once again after an absence for approximately 2 months or so. So kindly allow me to apologize to my viewers and listeners for that period of time, and I must say that I am back. We are in full swing, and I'm very, very pleased to be coming to you live again in your homes, in your cars, wherever you are, whether you are viewing me on MTV, Channel 65, or on Facebook Live, on any of the platforms there, or you are listening on Freedom Radio. I'm pleased to be joining you, and thank you very much for joining me. I also wish to thank all of those who called and were finding out about the program. The last 2 months have just been very, very busy, and it's extremely difficult when you're serving in the government, you're a minister of the government. It becomes extremely difficult sometimes to sustain this program because things come up at any time. An invitation could be extended at any time. Sometimes we have travel duties, and many unforeseen things come up. Emergencies, for example, that you have to respond to. Many times I have advertised that the program will be on, and then it turns out that I received a last-minute invitation, or maybe I have to go to a meeting with His Excellency, or something comes up. And then, of course, that takes precedence, and I would have to postpone the program again. But I will be doing my best to ensure that as many Wednesdays as possible, I will be here to join you and to speak with you, because I enjoy this very much. I enjoy the opportunity to be frank with my viewers and listeners, and I think people appreciate that very much, and they've said so to me over the past few weeks. And because of their words of encouragement and so on, I can push myself to come back even more often. So thank you very much to those people. And again, I apologize for having been absent for the past 2 months. But nevertheless, we are here, and as is customary, I'm going to ask all of those who are joining me on Facebook to please share this program so we can reach as many people as possible. Here on Making the Case, you know, we discuss current issues of national importance, and we do it in a fact-based manner, and we ensure that all of those who are tuning in, have the relevant, accurate information on any issue that is ongoing in our country. Let me also take the opportunity to wish all Guyanese, especially our Amerindian brothers and sisters, a happy Amerindian Heritage Month. We are in the month of September, so I wish all Guyanese happy Heritage Month. There are activities throughout this month of September, and if you have the time or you are curious enough and you've never been to any one of these activities, please do so. It's very engaging, it's very educational, and it's just a good time. I know the Sophia Exhibition Center, we had the last few days, there was the cultural exhibition there. I believe that has finished, but there are several other activities planned throughout the month of September. You can go to the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs Facebook page and you can see that schedule for the entire month of September. We recently also had the International Building Expo, and of course that is something that we look forward to. It's one of our main events at the Ministry of Housing and Water, and we were able once again to put on the International Building Expo for 2023, and it was a massive success. This year's Building Expo was larger than last year in terms of exhibitors' participation and also in terms of patrons who visited the expo. We also received, just like last year, positive feedback from our patrons as well as our corporate sponsors and all of our exhibitors, whether it from the large-scale businesses to our small-scale businesses. We received positive feedback that people were pleased with the visitors at the exhibition, and they were very pleased with the opportunity that they were provided with to network and to market their businesses. And that is something that our business community look forward to very much. They've always been very supportive. The private sector has been very supportive of International Building Expo over the years, and we thank them and we appreciate them very much. So a lot of things have taken place over the last 2 months or so, and we're going to try to speak about as many things as possible during this hour, but you know the hour tends to go by very quickly when we're on this program. So we had the conclusion of our local government elections, and of course the PPPC had a landslide victory after the results of those elections were declared. The PPP contested in all 80 of the local authority areas, or all of the 610 constituencies. And out of the 80 local authority areas, the People's Progressive Party Civic won 66 of those LAAs. The APNU contested 279 of the 610 constituencies, or 24 of the 80 LAAs, which equates to about approximately 45% of the local authority areas, or the total number of constituencies. So this is far less than Aubrey Norton's virtually all comment that he made that the APNU, not the AFC, that the APNU is contesting virtually all of the constituencies when he was asked about how many areas the APNU will be contesting in and how many candidates that they will put up. So in reality it was approximately 45% or so. The People's Progressive Party Civic also gained 4 extra seats in Georgetown on top of its 3 seats gained in 2018, and in the other towns and municipalities PPP increased its footing. So in New Amsterdam, for example, Bartica, Mahdia and Linden, which were previously thought of as APNU strongholds, we saw that the support for the PPP was increased in those areas. So we are very pleased with the results of the local government elections, and we are encouraged by the inroads that we have made there. So we will continue to push in these areas. We will continue to engage all of the people who live in these areas and across our country, so that we can continue to make inroads and that people can understand that the People's Progressive Party Civic is a government for all Guyanese. And those who have not realized that as yet are a bit late to the game, but we understand that the APNU and the AFC have a machinery that thrives on feeding people false information. And they are very persistent in doing so. So they are on the Facebook page and all other platforms all day long with different programs that are broadcasted to Guyanese in Guyana and overseas. And perhaps 90% of the information that is shared on those programs are false. They are not true. And that is why programs like this, that is why the Vice President has to do his press conferences every week. That is why the President takes time to address the country, sometimes in a frank way, in an informal way, just so that he can speak directly to the people and let them understand exactly what is happening in our country. The President also takes time to go through the challenges that we are facing and also the successes that we have had, so that people can appreciate the progress that we have made. More importantly, it is very, very important that Guyanese at home and abroad understand what the vision of the PPPC is. It's very important that people understand where we want to take Guyana by 2025, by 2030 and beyond. It's very important that people understand that vision, so that when we take decisions and we implement certain policies and they see us implementing or executing certain projects, they must understand that there is a bigger vision that we are hoping to achieve. That it is more than a singular project, but that we are working to achieve something greater. And very, very important is that we are hoping and we are working towards ensuring that every single Guyanese benefits from the progress and the development that is taking place in our country. So equality is just as important, and ensuring that there is equitable distribution of resources, that every area in our country gets attention, receives a visit from the President or ministers who can address unique issues and challenges that are faced in these communities. So just last month we celebrated our 3rd anniversary in government, and we have had a phenomenal 3 years in office. It's been extremely difficult, let me tell you. It's been very, very difficult governing during this period, because we had, of course, inherited a country and an economy that was failing during the 2015-2020 period, where there was a lack of economic activity, where people had lost confidence in the economy, where investors were afraid to invest because of the volatility of the economy. The country had no sense of direction in terms of leadership. There was no vision in any of the sectors. We had a president, President Granger, who was absent and who seemed to be disconnected. And you had a cabinet of ministers that seemed to be pulling and tugging in their own directions. So there was no clear vision as to where the country is going and as to what that administration was hoping to achieve. And that, of course, had very dire consequences for the people of our country. And so, after coming in and taking over back a country that had seen so much destruction in those 5 years in such a short period of time. We had a lot of work to do to put Guyana back on the right track, to restore democracy, and you know the challenges that we had there, to restore democracy, to repair our international reputation. And in 3 short years, the progress that we have made, especially in that regard, especially in repairing our international reputation, the progress in that area has been phenomenal. It has been a really, really important period in our country the last 3 years. And we will come to some of the comments and some of the feedback, I should say, or the international recognition and attention that our country has been receiving, especially within the last 3 years. So we'll come to some of that, but repairing that damaged reputation on the international scene has been a lot of work. And President Ali has been hard at it, and the Vice President has been working hard at it. So we were able to see our economy grow by 62.3% from 2022 to 2023. We have seen the non-oil economy grow by 11.2%, and we have seen growth in all of the other sectors, in agriculture, in oil and gas, that has grown by 128%. Bauxite, sand, and stone extraction have all increased. Sand and stone, for example, by 35% and 18.6% respectively. We've seen growth in the manufacturing sector by 3.9%. In the construction sector by 26.3%. In the services sector by 9%. Mortgage and real estate loans we've seen increase by 9.8%. And I can go on and on to examine a lot of the other sectors that we have witnessed growth over the period. And this growth has been steady and it has been consistent. And similarly, on in a lot of the other areas where when the PPPC came back into office, we had to restore a lot of the benefits that were being offered to our citizens prior to 2015, such as the removal of VAT on electricity, water, food items, and medical supplies. The President did a live broadcast on our 3rd anniversary and went through a list of the accomplishments or achievements that are attributed to the PPP since our return to office. And that included some of which I am highlighting now. The electricity and water subsidy that was restored to pensioners, making it more affordable for people to own a vehicle. The scholarship program, the 20,000 scholarship program, the Gold Scholarship Program, where we promised 20,000 scholarships by 2025. We have been doing so well in that regard, and Guyanese have responded so well to the Gold Scholarship Program that by the end of 2023, we will have already achieved the 20,000 scholarship. So about 20,000 scholars have already been awarded or will be awarded by the end of 2023. But we are not capping it at 20,000 scholarships. We have said clearly to people that if you want to study, we will make more scholarships available to everyone. Similarly, in the nursing program, President has said that any Guyanese, any person who has the qualification and wants to study to become a nurse, they just have to put forward their names and they will be trained free of cost. They will be trained by the government to serve in the healthcare sector. The Because We Care cash grant to our school children was restored and increased. Our 50,000 new jobs that we promised, we are well on track with ensuring that we reach our target of 50,000 new jobs. The 2,000 CSOs that the APNU AFC fired when they came into government in 2015 was just under 2,000 Amerindian community service officers that were sent home. We have rehired all of those people and we have even increased it. And now we are employing about 2,500 Amerindian CSOs in Amerindian communities across our hinterland regions. Over 2,000 Gaisuku workers have been rehired. We are investing in call centers, which has seen already 1,200 new jobs being created in that sector. We've increased the income tax threshold from 65,000 to 85,000, giving back more to our working class people. And of course, if you look at housing, we promised our 50,000 house lots and we have surpassed our midpoint target of 25,000 house lots. More than 25,000 house lots have already been allocated, giving Guyanese the opportunity to own their own homes. We are also ensuring that we provide people with the opportunity to become homeowners, so more than landowners, but to become homeowners, where we have worked with the banks to reduce interest rates. Some banks as low as 3.5%, others 3.8%. And this is taking place in a global economy that is seeing interest rates rise. So in the United States and in Europe and all across the world, interest rates are on the rise. And here in Guyana, through the work of the government, through strategic policy making to ensure that Guyanese acquire home ownership, you have seen a reduction in interest rates. And we are seeing an increase in the mortgage portfolios of the private financial institutions. And they have been reporting this. We've heard from the banks directly when they publish their half-year reports or their annual reports. We are seeing their mortgage portfolio increase. And this is due in large part to the government's housing program and the policies of the government of Guyana. That is the People's Progressive Party civic government. We have accelerated housing construction through the steel and cement subsidy. And over 1,000 people have already received the steel and cement subsidy to help them to start to build their own homes. That is also helping our vulnerable people. We've zero-rated VAT on construction materials. We have increased the low-income mortgage loan ceiling from $8 million to $15 million. We've increased the NBS ceiling from $12 million to $15 million, giving people the opportunity to construct and own a home that is larger or more comfortable for them. And every house lot, as you know, is heavily subsidized by the government. In the case of a low-income house lot, it is subsidized by up to 90%. The cost of producing a single house lot is subsidized by up to 90% for every single person who receives a house lot through the government's housing program. We've removed VAT on pesticides, fertilizers, and key inputs in the poultry sector, and in the agricultural sector. We've removed VAT on machinery and equipment. We've restored the joint service annual bonus, and I can go on. The list goes on and on about the initiatives that we have taken since our return to office. Some were done immediately in 2020 because it was a direct manifesto promise that we would reverse certain decisions that were taken by the AP and UAFC, and that we would restore some of the benefits that were there prior to 2015. And so we did those immediately in 2020 as part of our 100-day program. And as we continue our tenure in office, every single day when we meet people and we encounter unique issues and challenges, we go back and we make policy decisions. We give clear policy direction on how we will correct certain situations, and we make clear policy decisions on how we will improve the lives of people. So for example, we know we have the target in the housing sector, and we have started right away in 2020 to deliver house lots to people. We then set for ourselves another target. We started to construct homes so that people can then move from house lot allocation to home ownership. The construction of houses that is currently being undertaken by the Ministry of Housing is not a manifesto promise. We promised 50,000 house lots, but we also promised to help people achieve home ownership. And we did that in several ways. So we have several initiatives that are helping people to achieve home ownership. One of which is through the construction of houses through the Ministry of Housing. Second, it's by working with the banks to reduce interest rates. Thirdly, we have increased the mortgage interest relief ceiling to give people more relief. At the end of the year, people can claim back a rebate on their mortgage payments. Fourthly, we have recognized that people encounter a difficulty with acquiring a lump sum equity payment. So we introduced the steel and cement subsidy program to help people to start to construct their foundation, so that that money, along with the value of the house lot, would suffice for the equity down payment. So that was a hurdle that some people were facing to be able to approve, to get approval for a mortgage, and so we took care of that. We had to come up with that initiative to help people to qualify for a mortgage. And so as we meet people, as we encounter different challenges, we come up with different policy decisions and different programs through which we can help people to acquire home ownership. And this is just speaking for the housing sector. This is the same for all of the other sectors as well, ensuring that we reach people and that we make policies that are alive, that are dynamic, and that can have an impact on people's lives. So fast forward to 2023, we have seen significant gains in the housing sector. I said, for example, that we have allocated over 25,000 house lots already. But it is important also for us to note the breakdown of the allocations in the housing sector. So for example, when you look at the amount of house lots that went to single women, and I can recall that last year Guyana was recognized by the World Economic Forum Gender Gap Report of 2022, where Guyana moved 18 points upward in achieving gender parity. We moved from the 53rd position to the 35th position. So we moved 18 points closer to achieving gender parity, and this was in large part to the housing program. So out of 25,996 allocations up to the end of August 2023, 11,373 went to women only. That accounts for 43.7% of our total allocations going to women only. Then also we have allocations being made jointly between couples, a male and a female, and you have a further 26.6% being allocated jointly to couples. So of course women are benefiting there as well again. That's about 69% of all of our allocations that where a woman is benefiting from that allocation. Then we've broken it down further, and when you look at the ages, so if we want to examine the allocations that we have made in terms of the age range, out of 25,000, again 996,000 allocations, 14,054 went to young people, meaning from the ages of 21 to 35. So 14,054 went to young people ages 21 to 35, and this accounts for 54% of our total allocations that we've made over the past 3 years. So this I am extremely proud of, that we are able to allocate land and houses to people through the government's housing program, where you can see women benefiting on a large scale, and where you can see young people acquiring their house lots at an earlier age. Now there are other people who are waiting for their house lots, and we have said to people, you have to come into us. You are free to come into us. People who have allocations that are part of the applications, that are part of the backlog, we will attend to you. Come into the ministry and we will address your applications. So ages 36 to 50, for example, account for 31.5% of our total allocations. When you look at the breakdown of the allocations by income category, you will see that our low income applicants, out of the same 25,996 allocations, 10,873 allocations went to low income earners. That accounts for 41.8% of our total allocations 2020 to 2023. So that also is very significant, and we are very pleased with the progress in the housing sector, and also especially with the allocations made to women and to low-income earners, because these are our vulnerable people. And the whole idea, the whole reason the housing program was developed was to make housing affordable, to vulnerable people, to low-income earners, and to ensure that all Guyanese have access to affordable and proper housing. That is in our constitution and the People's Progressive Party civic governments, successive People's Progressive Party civic governments have ensured that the housing sector remains a very vital part of our economy. So we continue to make investments in the housing sector. The President is very involved in the housing sector as well, because he understands the importance of the housing sector, and our government understands the role that the housing sector plays in the transformation of lives. So as we spend resources to build out our country, to transform the landscape of our country, similarly, we are spending resources on our most valuable resource, and that is our people, our human resource, through the development of our human capital. We are making investments in education, we're making investments in healthcare, we're making investments in training, vocational, as well as higher education, and we're making investments in the housing sector. And this is how you help people to have a better standard of living. This is how you help people to stand on their own 2 feet, to be able to earn a decent living or a decent wage, and to be able to take care of themselves and their family. This is how you truly transform lives. Now, I will contrast that, as we usually do here on this program. You know, I have to bring you both sides of the story, and I like to bring you the facts. So all of the figures that I have highlighted at the beginning of this program, where I showed the growth in the economy, in the different sectors, the manufacturing sector, services sector, construction sector, for example, they all came from the budget speech 2023, where we reported to the National Assembly on the growth in all of these sectors. The statistics from the housing sector were all taken from our database and the analysis that we did at the ministry and the breakdown that we did for all of the allocations that we have made from 2020 to now. Now, contrast that to what is being offered by the APNU AFC. And remember, I said earlier on in the program that the work that we've been doing in government from 2020 to now have received international attention. And I've cited one report already, the World Economic Forum report of 2022, which moved Guyana 18 points closer to gender parity, because they have seen these figures, because they have examined the housing sector and all of the other sectors where they see women benefiting, where they see equality across the country. And this is how they are able to place Guyana in a better position globally. So this is not just me telling you that, but international organizations that have recognized the progress that Guyana has made in such a very short period of time. And I will quote more of these reports and the international accolades as we go on. So Mr. Norton has been, well, from June to now, he has had a lot of victory parades and parties, what they call victory laps. He has had them in Guyana, and he has been in New York for weeks. I believe he's been in New York for about 3 weeks. I don't know how you leave your post as leader of the opposition and leave the country for such an extended period of time. Clearly you don't have enough work to do here in Guyana if you can leave the country for such an extended period of time. Even when we travel for work, we're barely gone 2 or 3 days, and we are back here because this is where the work is. Yes, we have a lot of obligations internationally, but we dispense with that, and we have to get back to where the work is. Now, Mr. Norton has been in the United States, and he has been talking to people about a people-centered development strategy. So every few months or so, he comes up with a different strategy, a 10-point plan, a pathway to prosperity. All of these things, they're gimmicks. So he comes up with these different programs or strategies through which he will deliver prosperity to the people of Guyana. Now, what we've seen is a clear copycat approach to everything that the Vice President was doing when he was in opposition and he was the leader of the opposition. So our manifesto speaks about the path to prosperity. So this is blatant plagiarism taking place here. Now he's talking about a pathway to prosperity for ordinary Guyanese. It's a joke. Sometimes I can't believe that this guy is serious. So he says the coalition will implement our people-centered development strategy. Now the APNU, AFC or PNC has never been synonymous with people-centered anything. It is always the People's Progressive Party Civic, a working class party started by Dr. Cheney Jagan that has always been people-centered. And when you looked at those social safety nets that we have restored now, that we had prior to 2015, that they were removed in 2015, and then we restored now. So basic things like the VAT on electricity and water that they put there, VAT on food items, removal of the Because We Care cash grant, those little things. We're not even coming to the big things. When you look at those social programs that we had that are truly people-centered, that they are removed and that we had to restore, I don't know how their party can be synonymous with people-centered development. Anyway, nevertheless, the coalition posted this people-centered development strategy on their Facebook page, the party page. Now the first thing I gotta say is that his looks like, when we were in school, before we had the computer and we could have printed out our assignment, where we got those manila folders that we had to put our assignments in. We would decorate the folder with markers or crayon, and we try to do the borders and draw whatever it is in our assignments. That's what this looks like. That's the first thing. It's very juvenile. I cannot believe that this is a serious proposal by the main opposition in this country. Anyway, that's the aesthetics. Let's go into the details. So the coalition will implement our people-centered development strategy. It has an acronym and everything, PCDS, which will provide several pathways for ordinary Guyanese to earn enough and more to live a decent and comfortable life. We will create an opportunity society where people can choose the best pathways to earn livable incomes and establish economic security. So how are they going to do this? One, through high-paying jobs in the public and private sectors. This coming from the party that put people out of work. Over 30,000 people were put on the breadline when the AP and new AFC were in government. They said through micro to small business ownership. These are the people who we saw multiple closures of businesses. We saw the small business grant reduce from where we had it at 500,000, I believe it was, they reduced it to 250,000 or 200,000, I think. They reduced it to when they were in government. Thirdly, through higher education in colleges and universities. We're coming to their track record in education in a minute, because this is the same party who raised the tuition at the University of Guyana by 35%. Raised tuition by 35% when they were in government. They put VAT on education, and then after we fought them on it, then they removed it a year later. This is the government that removed the Because We Care cash grant to the school children. This is the government that didn't build a single new secondary school when they were in government for 5 years. But we go on. Number 4, through investments in shares, bonds, assets, savings, and box hands. So that's the fourth one. Now, investments in assets, savings, box hands, whatever you want to call it, that's a private arrangement with people. People have to decide. It's their own decision. It's a personal decision if you want to invest in shares, stocks, bonds, etc. The government cannot do that for you. So I don't know where he's going with this. But the point I'm making is that when you look at the proposal, it's all consumption based. So it surrounds earning more, and obviously if you earn more and you want to live a comfortable life, you have to expend more as well. Now, in ensuring that people have a more comfortable life and that it is sustainable, they need access to basic services. It's not all centered around higher paying jobs. Every time I listen to Mr. Norton, or you listen to people from the APNU and the AFC, they're always talking about wages and salaries. Now, wages and salaries are very, very important, and we have been consistently giving increases in the public sector for wages, in wages and salaries. But the pathway to a better life and a more comfortable life and a higher standard of living goes beyond wages and salaries. So if, for example, you want to study in a specialized area, you want to have access to tertiary education, we are making it free. We are going to make the University of Guyana free before 2025. So that every single Guyanese who wants to pursue higher education can study free of cost at the University of Guyana. That will help them to earn higher wages and salaries. If you want to study a program that is not offered at the University of Guyana, you can access a scholarship through the GOAL program. we are making that free and accessible to you so that you can earn a degree and that you can earn a better wage at the end of the month. You can earn a better salary at the end of the month. If you were to fall ill, we are ensuring that we build world-class hospitals with specialized services so that if you fall ill, you can access quality and affordable health care right here in Guyana. You do not have to leave here to go anywhere for medical treatment. That's what we are ensuring. That's why we are spending money in the healthcare sector, to ensure that our people feel secure, that should something happen to them medically, they can access world-class healthcare right here in Guyana. We are ensuring that we build the roads and ensure that our regions are connected and that people get to work faster. They spend less hours commuting to work and more productive hours at work, or more productive hours spent with their families, nurturing their families, spending time with their children, less time spent in traffic and more time spent at home. That is why the infrastructure is important. Linking the regions, Region 3 to Region 4, building bridges so that people can move freely. This opens up tremendous business opportunities in all of the regions so that the business opportunities are not concentrated to Georgetown or Region 4 alone, but that investors will feel comfortable going to Region 3, going to Region 6, and going further afield because the road network is there and you can traverse and get to where you need to get to quickly. My operator is signaling to me that I have 5 more minutes and I haven't started talking about a lot of the things that I had planned to speak to you about tonight. But to wrap up on this point, we cannot be nearsighted or narrow-sighted, and that is what Aubrey Norton and the opposition is offering you. They talk a lot about wages and salaries, but having a good life, having a life that is comfortable, having a life where you live in a country that you can own your own home, where home ownership is accessible and affordable, these are the things we have to invest in. So when they say, oh, the PPP is only investing in infrastructure, these are the things that make up that infrastructure, our healthcare infrastructure, our educational infrastructure, our schools, universities, for example, the road network, spending in the housing sector, ensuring that we develop our housing schemes, so the infrastructure work that goes into our housing schemes to open up lands for allocations to be made to those who are waiting. This is where the money is going, and this is how all of Guyana will move forward together. So not just a handful of people or a select few, but all of Guyana. So when they want to tell you that a certain portion of the population alone is benefiting from all of this, it is not true. It is our comprehensive approach to development, our holistic approach to development is what will propel Guyana forward. So that is why I said to you in the beginning that you have to understand the vision. You have to understand the vision of our government and the objectives that we have in office to really appreciate the everyday projects that you see us implementing and executing. Now, I had also planned to talk to you about by the way, when the U.S. Secretary of State was here, Secretary Blinken, he did not miss an opportunity to say that when he tweeted that constructive opposition is essential to a vibrant and stable economy. And I couldn't agree with him more that we need constructive opposition. But this was clearly a hit to Mr. Norton, because following his very brief meeting with Secretary Blinken, it doesn't take a long time for you to recognize that Mr. Norton is very shallow in his thinking. He does not have a plan. He's making this up as he goes along, and there is no way that the APNU, AFC, under his leadership or under the leadership of anybody from the opposition, Guyana will move forward. We have seen what they have to offer during the 2015 to 2020 period, and young people too. I hope that they don't have short memories, but I hope that they remember what that period was like and the promises that they broke to the young people. They promised young people, they campaigned on a youth platform. I see them bringing back young people now when they have young people talking on the Facebook, and those young people are there and they're giving false information again. There was a program by their youth arm a few days ago, and they were talking about unemployment rates in Guyana being its highest it's ever been, and that is false. That is false. They said that unemployment rates are high, with the last 2 years being higher than the previous years. That is absolutely false, because if you look at not what the PPP is saying, but the IDB, there's an IDB report published in August 2023. Guyana's unemployment rate records significant decline. This IDB report is available, people can check it. Unemployment rates, which had increased significantly in 2020 during the pandemic, started trending down towards the end of 2021. This is a direct quote from the report. The unemployment rate declined from 15.6% in 2021 to 14.5% in 2021 third quarter, driven mostly by declines in the unemployment rate of men, which dropped to 12% in 2021 during the third quarter, compared to 18.4% for women. So when they put people out there to speak, you have to remember, and I'm cautioning members of the public, that when you're listening to them, they are just talking off the top of their heads with no regard for fact. And so it's very important that when you listen to them, if you listen to them, and you shouldn't listen to them, because there's a lot of lies that anybody from the opposition talks. They cannot back up anything that they say with fact. So that is all the time that I have this evening. I will keep a lot of this information for next week when I return here, and we will go through what's been taking place, for example, in the sugar industry. We'll look at some of that next week. So thank you very much for joining me. I enjoyed being in your company this evening. Do join me again next week, same time, same place. God bless you.